So I'm wondering if that will work. Yeah. There's power that goes to that. I mean, it should, but. Yeah.
Yeah. We're good?
believe we're about ready to begin, only about 7 minutes behind schedule here. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all who are joining us via our live stream. My name is the Reverend Charles Cowherd. I'm the rector here, but I'm merely a civilian when it comes to Shrinemont because I'm joined today by Diane Miller, St. Timothy's parishioner, who is the vice president of the Shrinemont board. And so Diane and I are going to be talking a little bit about Shrinemont in its current reality, Shrinemont in its past, and Shrinemont in its future. But first I'm going to begin with a prayer, and this was a prayer written for Shrinemont's centennial. Lord be with you. O God, who on the holy mount revealed your wonderfully transfigured Son to his chosen witnesses, inspired the Reverend Dr. Edmund Woodward a century ago to build the cathedral shrine of the Transfiguration at Shrinemont, a sacred place where all are welcome to bask in God's love. Grant that those who visit this place may find peace, your presence, and the inspiration to return into our communities as your disciples bringing hope and reconciling love to a world desperate for your light, through Jesus Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen. Again, I know that we all come with different knowledges and understandings and relationships with Shrinemont. I think everyone loves it. Shrinemont's our diocesan camps and conference centers. It's located in the Shenandoah Valley, and it celebrated last month, a month ago today, its 100th anniversary. And it just so happens, I think we've all been through this before. I might take that. We all know that Shrinemont and the Feast of the Transfiguration, can you hear this? Yeah. Shares a birthday with me. And so August 6th is the day, the church calendar that is the Feast of the Transfiguration, and Shrinemont is the cathedral shrine of the Transfiguration, and so those things are all meet and right and good, and I think I would still have a strong relationship with Shrinemont even if we didn't share those two things. So last month we celebrated the 100th anniversary of Shrinemont, and it's big to do because in August 6th, 1925, this incredible hospitality, this incredible place that was going to serve thousands, if not millions of people opened up. And by that, of course, I mean that on August 6th, 1925, the very first Hilton Hotel opened up. And I share that with you. It's just a curiosity. This is in Dallas. The very first Hilton Hotel opened up on the same day as Shrinemont. So Shrinemont was consecrated on that day, and so there was receiving visitors already. And there you can see it. You can still go to it in Dallas. Maybe you all have been there. And I like to share that. That's just that's a coincidence. And this is always my plug here for the church, that the Hilton Hotel, they've lasted 100 years. I'm a Hilton Honors member. You probably are. Conrad Hilton, God bless him. I wouldn't doubt that in another 100 years that Shrinemont's still going to be there. I don't know about the Hilton Hotel. And I say that because we live in an area where there's all these buildings, all of these companies, and the church seems to be getting smaller and smaller, and that shouldn't make us believe that God is getting smaller. And God is still present. God is everywhere. And again, if I were a betting man, I would put more money on Shrinemont existing in another 100 years than the Hilton Hotel. This is a picture seen from the 100th anniversary last month. Diane, and there's my foot, I think, right there. And these are all the bishops who came, including Bishop Curry, the former presiding bishop, our Bishop Diocesan, Mark Stevenson. You might recognize some other bishops there. And so it's just amazing to think that this guy, Dr. Woodward, had this dream 100 years ago, built this chapel, and we're still celebrating, and it's still feeding us all these years later. So these are you might have seen these on Facebook. They sang a happy birthday to Shrinemont, and they were kind enough to sing it to me as well. And so every Saturday they've been having a cake, and so I got to get it, and that was really special. So there's me and Brooke and Bishop Curry. We were all getting excited about getting these selfies with him. And there it is, and it's first, what it used to look like. It pretty much looks exactly the same. As counselors, we are allowed to, when I was a teenager in college, we were allowed to sit up here, and take pictures, and always at the end of the session, you're not doing that anymore, because they were always worried about falling apart. So, golly days, look at that. So at the end of the service, they brought all of the Mumaw family up. And the Mumaws have been the family that runs Shrymont. And the Mumaws are a local Shenandoah Valley family who are not Episcopalian, who, ever since 1925 they've been running the thing. They're, good Lutheran, German Lutherans, who've been running. And so it was the most powerful moment of the service for me was when they brought all the members of the family up, and this a family that's given their lives for this organization, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. Again, that's really great. That's really neat. Maybe you've seen some of the folks in there, and this is just a curiosity that I learned. This is Holy Cross Lutheran, right there in Sterling Road. Right, yeah. And so you probably pass by it every single day. When we got our sign, we looked strongly at their sign. Holy Cross Lutheran was started 50, 60 years ago, you can see there. And I didn't know this until a few months ago or so, that one of the families that started it, you can barely see it, so I'm going to zoom in for it. Right here is the Mumaw family. And so this connection with Herndon and Fairfax County is so beautiful. And Thelma, is right there, and she ran the kitchens for years, and she and her husband, her late husband, Dick, lived here and went to that church. It's so beautiful. And that's just and then I'm going to let Diane take over. This is my point, that Shrymont is magical. Shrymont is beautiful. Shrymont surprises. Shrymont gives and gives and gives and gives, and because God's there, people go there looking for God, and they find God, and they bring it out to a world that needs it. And that's it. Sometimes you might think that, Shrymont is just this, camps and conferences center stuck in the mountains somewhere, and it's a nice place to go, and it's maybe stuck in time, or it's just Southern or Virginian or Episcopal, but it's so much more than that. It just transcends and expands, and the word I keep using is magical, and I just remember my memories there growing up, and it's magical to most people. One more slide, sorry. Diane. This is St. Paul's in Tokyo, and it looks a little bit like Shrymont. And I was doing a little research on this, and St. Paul's is the largest Anglican university in Japan, and it was founded by Virginian Episcopalian missionaries, and this beautiful campus and everything. And I share it with you for a couple of reasons, and the first of which is, there it is today. It's just been ensconced by the city, which you can still see. I mean, again, that looks like William and Mary, or that looks like Virginia, yeah, or VTS, yeah. And at one time, when I was at VTS, at seminary, a group of Japanese Anglican Episcopalians came to Virginia, and the veneration which they had for the founder, who was a VTS grad, was amazing, and that's just, again, to talk about the global reach of VTS. I'm going to get his name wrong, Paul Matsuhita, and he was the son of the president of St. Paul's, and he came and worked at Shrymont for a summer or two, and it's just a beautiful expression. He went to Swanee and did the whole thing, and so this is the dining room there. And the reason I'm belaboring this is because we at St. Timothy's have a connection with St. Paul's in Japan. Anyone recognize that man right there? That is Midori Yanagihara's father, and he was a professor at St. Paul's is now Ryoko University. I mean, you can see it now, right? You know, that's Midori is a vestry person, sings in the choir and all that. And so she shared that picture with me, and her mother is also a parishioner here. You know, like their ties with that. And again, I just remember at Shrine going there, and there would be people from South Africa because of Bishop Lee's connection with South Africa. And there'd be people from the Dominican Republic, and there are people all over the world. And this is we're all kind of joining hands in this place, which is, you know, it can be compared to the Homestead, but it's not as nice, you know, or compared to Greenbrier, but it's not as fancy. It's different. And so I'm going to step down here in a second and let Diane take over. I just had to say something, you know.
Thank you. Thank you. How many of you have been to Shrinemont? All of you? Almost all of you. Okay. So, you know, and Charles said it really well. You know, the Shrinemont experience is deeply personal. It's very different for everybody. And you get out of it something different every time you're there. And I know for myself, I've been there as the parent of a child going to camp, either at St. George's or the old soccer camp when they used to have it. And we used to go as parishioners from St. Anne's Reston when we go on our parish retreat. And Kent and I would go there. We've done a personal retreat there for a weekend. I've taken a yoga class. We did a pickleball camp. And it's just a place that's very special for us. But it is very different for everyone, and it's different every time. And when you think about it, you know, it kind of evokes that sense of peace and solitude, and you're up on the mountain in 1,200 acres of nothing, and it's just amazingly quiet. And spirituality and closeness to God and God's creation and nature, and lifelong friendships you make it at camp if you're a camper or a counselor. I mean, our kids still have good friends from their camp time. And we all have fond memories of eating way too much great food. You know, you just can't stop eating. But you know, there's some kind of interesting things that most people never see because there's a lot that happens behind the scenes. So it's sort of like Disney World, you know, where everything that you see and experience is above ground, but underground are the tunnels where they transport all the trash and, you know, things like that. So things happen behind the scenes at Shrinemont. So I'm going to share a little bit about that with you. The mission and values, if you ever go to their website, or maybe not, you see the mission is to provide a place apart. And that a place apart is a strong theme in everything that happens there. You are intended to be transported out of your daily life and all the things that worry you to go there and find that peace and restoration. And it's where all may grow in the grace of God. So in the programming that you see at Shrinemont, even the pickleball camp, there's rest, devotion, fellowship, learning, and education. And as a board, we think about how we live into that mission with the programming and what we can offer to the community. And I love their values where, you know, people are more important than things, and prayer and reflection and rest and recreation are more important than your task list. And it is a place to celebrate being part of the family of God. It's just. And here are the 5 goals, and we as a board are looking at those now to see if they still fit because they were developed many years ago. But forming and nurturing Christian faith and spirituality. We definitely want to be affordable and sustainable, and that's a big part of what we used to talk about when I was on Finance Committee. A ministry of hospitality, that just permeates everything there. And the Mumas have an unbelievable gift in that spirit of hospitality. For them, it is a deeply held ministry. They identify themselves so closely with Shrinemont. It's just like a part of who they are. Intangible religious benefits and renewal, and we're really, as an objective, wanting to bring more people to the mountain and always growing number of donors. So a little bit about the governance. No one kind of knows about this stuff, but in the Diocese of Virginia are 20 or 23 related organizations like diocesan missionary homes and and trustees of the funds and all these other things. And Shrinemont is one of those. And so the bishop is the chair of the board. So he is the only shareholder. We call him the shareholder. And so before our board meetings, he'll say, we had a shareholder meeting this morning, and I voted on everything, and I'm good. So he is the shareholder. And he appoints the members of the board. And so you see a direct line from the bishop to the Shrinemont Board of Directors. There are 12 of us, and we have rotating assignments. And then we have board standing committees. And then this would be Kevin Mumaw, the executive director. He reports directly to the bishop. He is, I guess you could call him on diocesan staff. He's paid by the diocese. And then senior staff members of the diocese are also officers of the board. So Mark Eastham, the secretary of the diocese, is the secretary of the Shrinemont board. Ted, God bless you. Ted Smith, the treasurer of the diocese, is the treasurer for Shrinemont. And then a whole lot of, lots of volunteers and paid staff. So let's see, so Kevin is appointed by the bishop. He's a direct report, and he's responsible for the day-to-day management. As any board of directors, we provide advice to the bishop, counsel to the bishop, and advice and counsel to Kevin, and he bounces ideas off of us, but we are not a governing board, we're an advisory board. And Shrinemont is a registered 501c3, so it's a nonprofit organization. And so we kind of plow all of any excess money back into the facility. The board, you know, we get together 4 times a year. We actively participate in our board meetings. We have our first meeting of the year in diocesan headquarters in Richmond. Then all the rest of them are up on the mountain because that's just where we all like to be. We have our 5 standing committees, typical executive, finance, development, audit, and governance. And we do a 3-year term, and then we're allowed another 3-year term if we're reappointed by the bishop. And then that's it. And my that's it is December 31st this year. This is the end of my 6 years. And it's just been totally fun. It is really fun. If you feel inspired to serve on this board, let me know, and I'll throw your name in the hopper. We come from all over the diocese. That is one thing we try and do, is recruit board members from all over the diocese, so we get a real diversity of perspective and opinion, and we have small church people, large church people, people from all kinds of professions, which is good. You always have to have attorneys and finance people on those boards. But everybody is just passionate about Shrinemont. And we've done some really interesting things lately. As Charles mentioned, you know, it's been up there for 100 years. But in the 1940s, 50s, black people were not allowed in Shenandoah County. And so they could not go to Shrinemont. And so one thing that we've done is this year, one of our board members is a part of the diocesan racial reconciliation ministry. He sponsored and hosted a Shrinemont retreat weekend for individuals from the historically black parishes in our diocese because they thought they still weren't allowed to go there. And so a lot of them were not ever having that wonderful Shrinemont experience. So we've done a lot more in outreach and trying to be much more inclusive so everyone can have that Shrinemont experience. We've also done some really interesting things with the camp programs, and we this year worked with the Virginia Association of Teachers, and we run a reading camp for children who are behind in their reading capability, so during the summer they can catch up. And that camp is free because it has so many sponsors from the local area. We also do camps specifically for underserved children from the local Shenandoah County and the other counties around there. These are the directors and officers, and so I'm running off the board, and then we have usually 3 or 4 people rotating in every year for a 3-year term, so we always have a continuous turnover. By the numbers, so because we're a 501c3, we have an annual audit by a real official audit company up in Winchester. And we also file a 990 with the Internal Revenue Service that talks about our mission and who's on the board and what the contributions are. But we have total assets of almost $17.5 million. That includes the property, the facilities, all the infrastructure. But when we think about our monetary assets, it's almost $12 million. And that sounds like a lot, but almost 5 of it is restricted. So we have these restricted accounts that people give for a special purpose. Maybe it's to maintain one of the cottages. Some of the cottages, when they were donated, came with an endowment to maintain them. Some did not. So these are all restricted funds. So every year, last year, we raised $6.5 million. I will tell you that during COVID, even though there were no guests on the mountain, or very few guests for a little bit, we increased the size of our donor base. A lot of people said, if I can't be there, I'm going to give. And so we maintained our income status during COVID, which was very nice. It gave us a little cushion. And our total expenses run about almost $3.5 million a year. And that's your typical, labor and maintenance, especially now as we're in the 100th year, doing a lot of infrastructure improvements. All of our revenue comes from donations, our programs, and what we make off of our investments. We have some of our money invested with the trustees of the funds, which is a diocesan kind of investment, and some of it is with managed by Davenport, our investment portfolio. This is always a shocker. We get no money from the Diocese of Virginia. Even though we are a diocesan-related organization, we get no money from the Diocese of Virginia. And in fact, as a parish, we give $10,000 a year to the diocese. That's our annual pledge. We can hold 600 guests in all the cottages for lodging, and in our 2 big dining rooms, we get about 15,000 guests a year. And we're only open like from the last week in April until the first week in November. So that's a lot of people on the mountain at any one time. And it is just a well-oiled machine. We've got 75 buildings, 3 camps. This really cool swimming pool that you can take a wheelchair right into. It's all handicap accessible. There's some winterized cottages. So if you feel like snuggling in on a winter week, you just rent one of those cottages. No TV. There is internet now in those cottages. But Ted Smith, the diocesan treasurer's family, goes up there every year for Thanksgiving. The whole family hauls in all their Thanksgiving stuff. They spend the weekend there and then haul it all out. Great place to go for winter. And then you could get Bryce ski packages and stay at Shrinemont. And then lots of meeting rooms, lots of facilities. There are several weddings there each year. But they have 14 full-time staff and 120 seasonal employees. Those are mostly high school kids from around Shenandoah County. And so they really count on that, the money and the tips, to get them through school. So here's kind of what it all looks like now. You come in on 263, and this is the Virginia House and the Maryland House and the pond back there. But there's little bits and pieces spread out all over the place. There are still a couple of houses in the circle that do not belong to Shrinemont. They're still privately owned. And you can bet we're talking to those people. So as we look forward, there's a capital campaign to celebrate the 100th anniversary. As you can imagine, 100-year-old buildings need quite a bit of maintenance. And we try and keep on top of that. When a hot water heater goes out in one of the cottages, we'll replace it with one of those tankless. So we're always looking to upgrade and renovate as we go along. But some of it needs a lot of love and attention. So according to our bishop, he says the Living Stones campaign will provide the resources necessary to make sure that this can still be a place apart for another 100 years, for generations to come. And so there's 2 goals for the whole campaign. The first one is the facilities, and you can see specifically what projects will be underway. And then the second goal, and some of these will be for Art Hall, and Brown Hall is, next to Tucker where you eat up on the hill. And then it's the whole Woodward art collection has been hanging in that non-air conditioned, unhumidified place for years. All of the paintings have been restored, but they need to be in a better environment so that they can last much longer. And all of that has already been architected, and the construction is underway around the hill for parking and things like that. But the shovel in the dirt is October, mid to late October. And we're making it much more accessible with ramps, with an elevator, things like that, so more people can enjoy it and see the paintings. So they'll be up on a gallery at eye level, so you aren't looking up at the ceiling to try and see the paintings. The cross that's up on the hill needs a little love and attention, especially the structure going up the stairs to get to it. The shelter chapel and the fish pond are looking a little scummy, and so it's going to need some attention. Lexington House is one of the larger homes there, and it just needs a major renovation. The pool has some cracks and needs fixing. The lower pavilion is the one where they have the Shenandoah Valley Music Festival, the really big pavilion, and it needs some attention in the concrete and the staging. And then the upper pond, which I didn't even know it had a name. I thought it was just that brown scummy pond up past the upper pavilion. It was a reservoir at one point, but the dam broke, and so it's just a mess. So they want to rebuild the dam. And then the second part is to build an endowment fund so we can help parishes or individuals come up to the mountain, because it's not affordable for everyone. And so we want to make it a place where we can set aside money and give everyone an opportunity to go there. So it's a very special place apart. If you haven't had the Shrinemont experience, I would encourage you to go. It's a very special place. It is one of 100 Episcopal, we're a member of the Episcopal camps and conference centers, and they look to Kevin Mumma as the example executive director. And I did a study a couple years ago. It was a compensation analysis, and I worked a lot with ECCC, and they said, oh, we wait for Kevin to figure it out, and then we all just use his example. And it is one of the top 3 financially in the United States. And one thing that's a little confusing, some of them have their own camp programs. Shrinemont doesn't own the camp program. That belongs to the Diocese of Virginia, and it's run by a camps director that works for the bishop. And so they come up with all the programming and enroll everybody and hire the chaplains and the counselors and everyone. And so they come to Shrinemont, and we view them sort of as a tenant during the summer, but it's very integrated with who Shrinemont is and who those campers are, and their experience on the mountain is really important. So it's kind of an integrated thing. So we have an outstanding leadership team, but as Charles said, the Mummas are one-on-one with Shrinemont, and there are Mummas all over the place, and to see them all up there was really special. But they, that's their home, and they take it personally. And you could walk down 263 with Kevin. He goes, oh, well, my aunt lives there. And when I was growing up, she used to live over in that house. But yeah, it's just, that's who they are. But hopefully that we'll be able to refresh the infrastructure so it will be there for a long, long time. So, yes.
What's the name of that town that's adjacent to it?
Orkney Springs. Orkney Springs is officially the town, and it has a post office, but I don't know if you know, but the postmistress was just downgraded. And so I think it may not be an official post office for much longer. But there's the candy store across the street, which only stays in business by the campers. Good question, though. Yes?
On the expenses and income for last year, that there was, let's say, $6 million in income, $3 million expenses. That's a heavenly gap. What's happening with that $3 million?
Oh, yes. The question is, the revenue for last year was $6.5 million, and the expenses were about $3.4 million. What happens to that delta? It's a great question. As a nonprofit, we can't hold it as a profit. We plow it back into the facility. Actually, we're putting a lot of it into our investment accounts for growth. And then some of our accounts, like the designated funds, we can only use the revenue that the corpus of the investment fund generates, which isn't a whole lot. And so we use that, or we use that $3 million, put it in the investment account, and then as we need it for improvements, then we pull it out. So for example, when we put in an entirely new water system, we had to tap in up the mountain and have these huge pipelines put in that run in for fresh water, because they only use the spring water. Or when we upgraded all of the electrical, things like that, that comes out of, there's a whole list of capital improvements that we maintain. And this week, the bishop signed off on the contract for the upgrade to Brown and Art Hall, and that's just under $4 million. Yeah, you bet. Any other questions?
I'll just throw in the obvious fact that, you can see why Diane's on this board and why this board is so important, and that Shrinemont, when it was began by this rather eccentric Episcopal priest, Dr. Woodward, who had crazy enough to build this thing, and then he teamed with Wilmer Moomaw to run it, but eventually it couldn't just run off of one eccentric priest in this incredible family, and that's why the board's there to make sure that it lasts, and so but at the same time maintaining everything that's unique about it, in terms of like the deep spirituality and hospitality that's part and parcel of what the place is. And so people really know Diane all throughout the diocese, and it's a gift to St. Timothy's that she's on the board. And that's also a part of it, is that when people think the diocese, sometimes people can have negative opinions. When you think of the diocese as Shrinemont, I think that goes a long way to helping that, and so you get a bishop's visit every couple years. If a church is having problems, then you might interact with the diocese. The link for most parishes is Shrinemont, which is a great thing with the camps and everything. So.
And you'll see the bishop up there pretty often. One of the cottages that was bought in the 80s is called Box Hill. And that's now the designated bishop's house. But anyone can stay there if the bishop isn't in residence. But it was incorporated just to maintain that independence from the diocese. And we revised the bylaws and the incorporation last year, so it's very clear that although the bishop has the authority to sell that property, because he is the one shareholder, that it would require board engagement and approval and things like that. So we maintain that independence as well.
And the historic center, of course, of the state of Virginia is Richmond, and that's where the diocesan headquarters are, and that's, all of Virginia used to be in the Diocese of Virginia. And then we in Northern Virginia, we're the new kids on the block, and so Northern Virginia has exploded in growth over the last, so there's these two power centers in the diocese, and then Shrinemont is kind of this third place where people can get along, and can go to, and it's not, it's only Northern Virginia or it's only Richmond, it's a good place to go to that's not Fredericksburg, that you can go to and kind of enjoy. And I'll throw my parents under the bus here. We were at Shrinemont a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about everything about this, and my parents were like, oh, we just like it the way it is. Like, we just love for it to stay the same. That's an opinion, and the importance is that Shrinemont is not a museum. It's I love old things, and it's not a museum, it's a place apart that maybe things that were unique in the 1930s and wonderful are not so unique today. I have a friend who, when she takes her parish on their Shrinemont retreat, she puts all the newbies in the best cottages, and the people have been going for a while. It's like, well, what is this? And they're like, we need Shrinemont to be here in decades, you know, and we need these people to fall in love with Shrine-Mont, you know, right now, you know. And so, yeah.
Our first visit to Shrine-Mont, our first parish retreat, our daughter was like 18 months, maybe. And we got the room above Tucker Hall that has a clawfoot bathtub. It's like, okay. So that was our first experience. The next time we went, there was a broken window in the cottage, and there were 10,000 ladybugs in the room, and everybody's freaking out. So they gave us a room. But it's rustic, and it's charming, and it reminds you of simpler times. But we do get feedback that says, oh, you need Wi-Fi and TVs in every room. It's like, that's not going to happen.
I remember when Dick Mumaw, him describing when they first put Wi-Fi in the Virginia house, and him like had no idea how it worked. He was like, "There's this internet coming through the wires here," you know. And it was like this step back in time. And I'll admit that, you know, we were talking about the Shrine-Mont camps as being renters or tenants of it. That sometimes when I was in my 20s, I made decisions that the Mumaws did not like, and I heard about that. One time we put these wax boats into the pool and left them there all night, you know, and so the whole thing became wax, and Kevin came down, he's yelling at me, you know, and that was a learning experience because, like Diane said, it's like, that's their home, you know, and I was disrespecting their home, you know, which is also my home, so. Can we run the video real quick here? Absolutely. Yeah, like I'm gonna turn the lights out, and then we'll, this is beautiful, and I told the 8 o'clockers that, you know, I was interviewed for it, and Diane was interviewed for it. She got in a little bit more than I did, but that's not her fault.
They came up when we were having a board meeting and said, hey, we're going to interview you all.
The best day of the year was not Christmas Eve. It was not a birthday. It was the day before Shrine-Mont.
Shrine-Mont has meant so much to me because I'm able to maintain a tradition with my children. We always know that week in August we've been coming together here.
Shrine-Mont famously is a place apart, and so that means it's of this world and out of this world.
There's a kind of frenzied pace to our culture right now. So going somewhere where you can intentionally calm down, rest, and relax sounds very inviting.
My father began working for Dr. Edmund Woodward, who was the founder of Shrine-Mont, when he was 12 years old. And his first job was to pick up buckets of stones to help build the roads that now go through the Shrine-Mont property. His father, Tom Mumaw, helped to build the shrine itself. The stones, which came down from the mountain behind the shrine, made me think of all the people who have been at Shrine-Mont. We're all different colors and shapes and sizes and textures. And to sit in that place and to worship is a life-changing experience on this mountain.
Every time I come to Shrine-Mont, I go sit in the shrine. My favorite thing to do is be there at sunrise and watch the sun coming up through the cutout behind the altar. It's the most wonderful experience.
The idea that my kids basically are having the same experience I had as a child is meaningful. Exploring the campus, feeling independent from their parents, getting to know the environment and making friendships on their own.
It's a relaxing place. It's a kind of location where titles kind of just slip aside and people interact with young and old.
And it's such a slower piece of life that your goals in this week can just be to visit places that you love.
The biggest thing is a welcoming atmosphere. I've never had an experience that was not positive there.
If you saw a gathering of people or a party, you just always felt welcome to just walk right in and everybody would be welcoming.
But getting older and getting more comfortable and actually realizing like, oh, these are family.
The beauty of a family camp is that there is no set way of thinking about what a family is supposed to look like. That family comes together as they are, and we make up the wider, bigger family of God that is gathered there on the mountain.
My favorite thing to do here is everything. I love swimming, hiking, stargazing. It's just so fun. My parents really like it here, and they kind of do like the same stuff that we do, except with less sugar and less running.
I go to Collaborate
I've weekend retreats there. We ask people to walk quietly and meditatively and slowly into the center and to spend a little time meditating quietly for a few minutes and then walking out. And the circular motion as you walk into the center of the labyrinth reminds me of our spiritual journeys.
I'm learning pickleball, and the activities that happen at night last night had a square dance, baths, campfires, and things like that.
The music festival is a real special example of what Tremont has brought to this area. This is such a unique place in that it captures not just the physical and logistical needs of a lot of events, but it has the added depth of beautiful natural surroundings, the dining room where you get fed and don't have to cook your own food.
The food is so good, especially the fried chicken and macaroni and cheese.
We have 15,000 different guests come through our gates every year. Tremont is 15,000 different guests. From sitting on the porch with your family to catching salamanders with the children at the pond. My job is to make sure that the 15,000 different folks have the time of their life.
When we think about the future, we have to be really realistic that 100-year-old buildings that were only meant to last for 40 years sometimes need to be replaced and need to be upgraded. It's not the building that makes it special, it's the gathering of people. And sometimes we need to do new things to make it easier for people to gather.
And so we are expanding the facility. We're understanding what our guests need in this century, which includes accessibility and a much better place for gathering inside and outside. In 1940, he built Art Hall, and that was the whole, all the art that his uncle, John Douglas Woodward, had created throughout his career. The problem with it now is that it really is at the bottom of the hill, the water just washes right underneath it, and the reality is it's going to fall down if we don't fix it up. And the only way to do that is from the foundations and up. We are taking advantage of that opportunity to rebuild Brown Hall and Art Hall, holding on to what Dr. Woodward felt were the important aspects of it as a community gathering space and a place where you could feel the nature around you.
We have so many beautiful stones and stone work around the foundation of Art Hall. Those stones will be repurposed in the new facility, and that's intentional. We really want to keep that beautiful stone heritage because it ties it into the past.
Using the uncut stones was a symbol of how God works with us in the way we are. And it just is a symbol of the stability that Shrinemont gives to those who come here.
It is a continuation of Dr. Woodward's vision of what this place will be. And I think they're being so faithful to that vision.
Ever since we were founded, we have been completely independent financially of the institution and fully self-sufficient. Our work on Art Hall and Brown Hall will be the linchpin of a major fundraising campaign. This campaign will enable our friends and our guests to show how important Shrinemont is to them and allow us to show them how important they are to us. The other piece that we feel we must have as part of this fundraising campaign is an additional endowment.
L-O-N-D. That's what Shrinemont is.
If we want this beautiful facility to exist into the future, we have to step up to provide that backing. When we give, we allow Shrinemont to provide the same kind of place of art we have loved and benefited from for generations.
Knowing that Shrinemont will extend for what we hope is centuries to come is so comforting. And the thought that my children and their cousins will continue this beyond the time that I am able to be here just makes me beyond happy. It's just the most wonderful thing to imagine.
Amen. I'm going to start crying if I do this anymore, so I'm going to leave this to Diane, and thank you.
That family, the Rowlings, have been doing family retreats there for 75 years. Family reunions. There's one family that brings almost 300 every year. Any questions? Yes, Richard. Yes. So the question is Shrinemont the cathedral of the Diocese of Virginia? This shrine is the Shrine of the Transfiguration, and it is the cathedral of the Diocese of Virginia. Yes. No, it's interesting. There is not actually a parish. And so there's no vestry or anything like that. And many of the people that live in Orkney just go to the shrine on Sundays for their services at 11 a.m. Or they're members of the parish in Mount Jackson. Yeah, great question, though. Yeah. My pleasure. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. I would have brought you fried chicken if I could.